Welcome, everyone. We're back with a post game to complete this NFL regular season, 2022-23. And so, yeah, we're going to have our playoff show later this week. But rather than talk about that during our playoff preview, let's tie up a little loose ends on this regular season. And then let's riff a little bit, Tony, like we used to. So, Tony, first off, how are you doing? Welcome.
I've been better. It's always better to actually, get into the playoffs instead of back in. But other than that,
Hey, man. I've hey, Broncos have backed into the playoffs a couple times. It's worked out. Just saying. And then so hey, let's start there. A little bit, even though we said we weren't going to talk about the playoffs. You said today that you think it's a good thing because you think the Cowboys are going to keep their head down this week, which is something I've regularly said on this show, that it's always good when the Cowboys are quiet. And hey, we're late Monday afternoon and it's been pretty quiet over there in Dallas Fort Worth. So,
yep, the only news to come out of there is that the Broncos have requested to interview Dan Quinn, and that is it. There is no other news going on. There's no injuries to talk about. There's nothing. I expect them to not get the best reception from the national media this week. That's probably something they need. Just like I imagine that plane ride yesterday wasn't very fun. I'm sure that this ass kicking they got will go ahead and leave a taste in their mouth. Hopefully they can respond back from it, but this is just not a good look. Not a good look at all.
silver lining, if the Cowboys lose this game, you guys are going to get Sean Payton. So,
That is the discussion. I have tried to have that discussion with people. Some people think I'm wrong. Other people are not happy about the fact that it will cost a first round draft pick. And I said, don't care. That is what will happen.
so me and Josh, Toll talked about this morning. What do you think is going to be the haul ultimately for Sean Payton? I'll let you go first. I had my prediction. Josh thought I was way off base, but based off of previous coach trades, I don't think I'm that far off. So Tony, what do you think it's going to cost to get Sean Payton?
Probably like a first round pick and a third round pick.
Okay. So you're actually more, I would say, in agreement with Josh. I said it's going to take that first round pick that you got from the Dolphins. Of course, I'm speaking about my Denver Broncos, of course. But yes, any team that goes for them, I think it's going to be a first round pick, and it's going to be two-thirds, one this year and one next year. And I think that's just based off of just the haul that Parcells recently got, where he got a multitude of picks recently. Gruden was a multitude of picks, and so it has happened in the past. And I think with Sean Payton, you're getting a coach that's most likely going to stick around for a decade. And then additionally, I think, say if you're the Denver Broncos, you're going to be in a bidding war with the Carolina Panthers. And both teams are fairly desperate to get a good coaching hire this offseason. So I think that's going to up the price as well. So that's my personal prediction. I think it's going to be two first, third this year, third next year. Do you think
That
I'm
could be
crazy?
it.
Josh thought I was way off base with that.
I think that they'll do like one of those like escalator things in it. And it's like, oh, well, if you hire Sean Payton, it costs this and this. But if you guys go to this level in the playoffs or you guys go to a Super Bowl, then it's going to be a second round pick instead of a third round pick. They'll do something like that in there, depending on the performance of how he does. I could easily see that happening because, I mean, same thing, like you said, Tony Dungy, Parcells, Gruden, all of these dudes, it's been like a big pick package. It's been at least like a first and other stuff thrown in there every single time. And this guy has played it perfectly, man. He didn't get fired from New Orleans. He walked away and he's just like, is Jameis Winston, I'm done. I'm just not going to be able to do this here. I miss Drew Brees. I'm going to go do the TV game. And then his stock is just slowly increasing the entire time. Because like you said, all these teams, they're going to be in this bidding war for him. And can't really think of a more valuable other than what's it called? The defensive coordinator guy for the Niners. I forget his name. Romeo, no? He's so good. The defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans. Other than
Oh wow.
D'Amico Ryans, I can't think of any other like coordinator or anyone else that stock is as high as Sean Payton and will be as in demand as Sean Payton. Other than that, other than D'Amico Ryans, that's pretty much it. The rest of the conversations will be, I guess, we know about these retreads and coordinators and all this stuff. It'll be the same stuff. Raheem
I
Morris's, Vance
yeah.
Joseph's.
And I would say that Harbaugh's the only name out there that's
Yeah.
up there with Sean Payton. But kind of like I talked with Josh, I think Harbaugh, like you get the same things as Payton. You get smart X's and O's, you get a cultural shift, but you're not going to get that longevity like with Sean Payton. Like I said, I think you're going to get him for most likely a decade. And I know that I'm throwing out big numbers, but Harbaugh, it's been proven throughout his career. He rubs people the wrong way, and eventually he just has to find a new scenery. And so you'll get him at a little bit of a discount in comparison to Sean Payton, which me as a Broncos fan, I'm good with. But yeah, I think most teams know going into it that Harbaugh's not going to be your long-term solution.
Yeah, Harbaugh's like Chris Paul. He shows up, everyone is like, "Oh man, look at this, let's fall in line." Oh, this guy's such a good leader. What's going on? And then it starts grinding and grading on people. And then after like a couple, that third year, fourth year, they're like, "All right, dude, okay, we're sick of this. Get out of here." And that's why it's only going to be like a 5 year window with him and whatever job he gets.
Mhm. And I think honestly he's going to be the only one to probably rein in Russell Wilson's bullshit and to actually kind of just have a shadow that looms over Russell Wilson. Whereas I think if Sean Payton came in, he would work more collaboratively with Russ, kind of like what he did with Breeze in New Orleans. And so there would be that difference there as well. Same with Dan Quinn. I think you get somebody that's going to be more collaborative with Russell Wilson rather than just be like, no, it's my way or the highway. So since we're on coaching vacancies, one opened up today, couple opened up today actually, within the last 24 hours. Texans opened up, and then Cliff is out of Arizona. And so yeah, let's go through some of these coaching vacancies, see what we think is gonna, and we'll start with Arizona. You've pretty much called it all season. Been calling it since last season, that Cliff should have been gone. And we discussed privately that I think that he got almost the Vance Joseph's treatment. And what I mean by that is they just gave him 1 year too long. Like I think they knew in their heart last season, like, yeah, we should probably move on from this guy. But I think they kind of doubled down and said, all right, we've given you extension. Um, let's see how it can go. And it didn't work out well at all. So thoughts on Cliff leaving or getting fired from Arizona?
Cliff Kingsbury is like the perfect example in the NFL of like what happens when you have a coordinator that you just want to make a head coach. And it's an entirely different skill set to being a head coach than it is to being a coordinator. It's Jason Garrett 2.0. I watched this. And just like right now with this Kellen Moore offensive coordinator, being a coordinator is getting your players in position to go ahead and succeed, make sure they're going to go ahead and get yards. Being a head coach is to make sure they're going to win the game with those plays. Like what you've seen, Dable in the Giants, that guy, he makes sure those players win games with those plays. Like versus these coordinators, like I think Cliff Kingsbury would be an awesome offensive coordinator. I think if you put him anywhere else in the league, he will do well. He's a very good offensive mind. He knows how to go ahead and do that. Being a head coach is an entirely different skill set. And I think that's what happens. And that's where you get in these situations, like with Hackett. Like he probably would be a good coordinator somewhere, but you just get these guys and you try and make them into a head coach because it's a QB driven league and you want to pair the offensive mind together with it because you've seen it have success elsewhere in the league. But it rarely works. It rarely works. And I know it's an offensive league, and I know there's Andy Reid and Sean McVay, but I mean, it's hard with Kyle Shanahan too. Like those are your exceptions. The rest of them, you just doing the same thing, rinse, repeat, trying to force this coordinator into the coach role. And maybe a special teams guy should be a coach. I don't know. Like it's a different skill set than being a coordinator. And like that's the most difficult thing for like fans to understand, I think.
I think it's you to be a head coach, you have to you have to manage multiple hats. Like you have to manage people first and foremost, manage personalities, and yeah, some of these coordinators, like you say, get overwhelmed by it. Um, 4 years, 28, 37 and 1, only reached the postseason once. I mean, that's a failure any way you cut it, especially when you have Kyler. Kyler does get a lot of blame, but you probably shouldn't have had quite that bad of a record with him. So,
They're stupid. Why did they pay Kyler? Like Baltimore didn't pay Lamar. Baltimore hasn't paid Lamar, and everyone is like, "Oh, well, maybe they should just franchise tag him." And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe you should have." Like, I have no idea why they paid Kyler Murray early. They didn't have to. He wasn't good. Like they had his rights. They could have franchise tagged him. That's why I was like, and I feel like that's kind of why they were like, "Oh, well." Cliff is the guy that we got with Kyler. Like, if we're gonna give him all this money and extend him, we got to keep Cliff as well. And it's just like doubling down on these bad decisions.
like I said, I think there was honestly like a meeting on like the executive side of things of like, and this is just, I guess, dueling thoughts within even the business world of like, there's some people that like clearly it's failing. Let's rip off the Band-Aid, part ways with some respect, and try and build something better. It'll be better for both parties. And then there's people that are like, oh, well, it's been a failure up until this point. That's going to reflect badly on me. What we should do is maybe just double down, like give a vote of confidence in this person, to be like, oh no, like we see that you're failing, but like we have your back, we support you. And then they think that's going to just change things. Culturally, rarely does that happen, and I think that's what's happened in Arizona. They doubled down on Cliff. They doubled down on, I think, on their GM. They doubled down on Kyler and all three. Like that's 3 strikes this season for them.
Yeah, yeah. But and like I
Whereas,
said, I think Cliff will be good as an OC if he wants to do that. Like I doubt he wants to be a head coach
well, okay.
again.
Last note on Cliff and the Cardinals. Do you know where I think he is going to end up?
Tennessee.
He's gonna be Nick Saban's OC next season.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, I could see that as well. I was saying Titans. He goes there, and it's going to be like Derek Carr or someone like that, and they're going to try and make it work there.
I think he's gonna go through the Alabama offensive coordinator car wash
There you
for a
go.
season and come out on the other side clean, and he's gonna get himself a prime SEC job on the
Fair,
other end of
fair.
it.
Could totally see that. Could see that.
That's my prediction for Cliff. Right, another
All right.
opening that we've had for a long time, Matt Rule, and the Carolina Panthers. They also fired their defensive coordinator. I honestly think that they're going to get Sean Payton, is my
Wow.
prediction.
I could
I
see it.
I think he has more of a roster to build there than anywhere else.
I think Wilkes actually did a pretty good job. I think in other situations, Wilkes should deserve that job. I think he go like 6-6 with the team. He looked a heck of a lot better with him than under Matt Rule. And then they got rid of like all their quarterbacks.
Yep.
But like they were in the playoff conversation. They were in it until they lost to Tampa last week. But I think he did with Sam Darnold and a makeshift round of quarterbacks. Like they came to play every week. They were a tough team to play when he was coaching them. I was actually pretty impressed with them, but I understand that they have an owner with deep pockets, so they're not going to just keep him.
I'd say if he could potentially come in, just take, you're gonna have one bad season, rise up those draft ranks for 2024, and then you'll have your QB and you'll have a roster to build around a rookie contract. Perfect for someone like Sean Payton. Although I will say a little disappointed if he does go to Carolina that he missed Christian McCaffrey by like half a year, because he would have been
Yeah.
amazing with that guy.
Someone had this take, I can't remember, and they're like, Sean Payton shouldn't take a job now. He should wait to wherever Caleb Williams gets drafted, and then that's the team he should go to. And I was like, whoa, that's super spicy. Like, I can't even, it's genius. Like, it's insane, but I can't even imagine that. Like, another year off just waiting for that guy.
I mean, he's getting paid. It's possibility, I guess. I don't know how that would work with the Saints. I guess what, so, and yeah, it'd be pointless to trade for his rights if he's like, I'm not going to work for you. So it
Yeah.
would never happen. So I guess he has that leverage. If he just is like, none of these options are very compelling to me. And I'm gonna sit out another year. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I
Um,
don't know. I think you get more comfortable doing that, like Bill Cowher.
yeah. So Browns, their defensive coordinator, he's been gone since January 9th. Do you think that Stefanski, right? You think he sticks around another year?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he does.
You think I think they're going to keep him, man. They're like, hey, Deshaun Watson, you look like shit for most of the time we had you this year. Like, honestly, there was no difference between him and Jacoby Brissett this season, which is crazy. But yes, there literally was no
There
difference. That
was
team was
nothing.
exactly the same. So I think they're going to be like, well, this is on him, not Stefanski, and they're going to we'll give him one more season, and then they'll see how he's doing.
Nick Chubb looked like their best player on that team.
Yep, agree.
So Broncos, of course, they have their vacancy. Nathaniel Hackett gone on December 26th, late Christmas present. Um, like we talked about earlier, I think that they most likely get Harbaugh.
Sounds
Um,
about right. They'll be in the mix for that.
yeah,
Hey, let's not forget that the murmurs about Sean McVay leaving for the retirement, and there could be another opening there. We'll see what happens. I don't think Baker's keeping him around. I don't think that Baker is keeping him there.
I tried to make that happen. Doesn't
You
seem like
did.
that's going to be the
You
case.
did.
Um, so yeah, could be another vacancy. Texans fired Lovie Smith. Um,
Screw that Texans organization, man. Screw
yeah,
that Texans organization.
it's
I
just kind
couldn't
of
even
been bad
remember who the
karma.
coach was they had last year. Before Lovey, they had someone else they fired after 1 year. I can't even remember who it was,
Oh man, yeah.
but it was like a black coach, and they
It
said that
was.
this was like their way to go ahead and like dip, duck, dodge, dive through that whatever policy procedure it is, the Rooney Rule in the NFL, and they
Yeah.
just want Josh McCown. I was just like, oh my goodness.
Best of luck to them on whoever they hire.
Good for Lovey Smith for screwing the Texans over and winning that game against the Colts to lose the number one draft pick. You know, he was like, I'm getting fired either way. I don't care. Let's
Yeah.
go for two. Let's go for two to win this game.
Pretty sure he told all those players, none of us are going to be here next season. So let's
Fair.
win this
Fair.
game.
Yep.
Uh, Colts, they have vacancy as well. Seems like they're going after Harbaugh. I could, they're probably the only other team that I could see getting Harbaugh is them and the Broncos.
Top five pick.
Yeah.
Harbaugh, get to pick your quarterback, get your whole little program in motion for the 5 years that we said. I could see it there. I could see it with the Colts.
Titans fired their general manager. They just fired like within the last 20 minutes, fired their offensive coordinator. So it seems like there's some cultural shifts going on there. Do you think Vrabel survives this offseason?
Yeah, Yeah, Vrabel's a good coach. Vrabel's a really good coach. He just had shit for quarterbacks there like the whole time. Like, I'm sorry, Ryan Tannehill. Like, you just weren't the guy. Like, it just like he gets that team ready to play. Like, they have a good team there. So I said, watch out. They'll probably try and get like a Derek Carr, try and upgrade the quarterback position. But yeah, I think Vrabel's safe there. I think
Or how
Vrabel's
bad
safe.
that division was this year. Like that was bad for the Titans. Like they should have easily walked through that division this season and definitely did not. So change is
Hold
going on
on.
there.
Hold on. Is Matt Patricia still in charge? He has not been fired? Is
Matt
that
Patricia, he still has a job, Tony.
okay?
He's
Okay.
still an offensive coordinator or assistant or whatever the hell its title is.
Pencil
Yeah.
pusher. I don't know what's up with him. I just wanted to throw that. I'm just shocked that he still has a job. Okay.
Come on, somebody has to get thrown under the bus for that team. So they perfect transition into teams that just missed the playoffs this year.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so Dolphins ended up squeaking in, getting that last spot. Steelers miss it. Patriots miss it. Jets miss it. I guess you could technically say, yeah, well, yeah, Titans, yes, they did miss it. So, we'll run through that. Steelers, honestly, successful season for them. Another winning season for Mike Tomlin. Even though they didn't make the playoffs, like they still have something to hang their hat on this year. So,
I'll ask you this because you are the only person I know that was like, let's go Kenny Pickett Rookie of the Year convo at the beginning of the season. Billings was like, Kenny Pickett Rookie of the Year. That mother, he got better, man. He looked like a legitimate quarterback at the end of that season. I was like, that guy's a starting quarterback in the league. I don't like some of the stuff he does, but he is good enough to be a starter. And like, that's what you want to see from a rookie. And I was so impressed with his improvement this year. Like, Tomlin really coaches that team up.
oh, for sure, for sure. Yes, and considering where he started, where he ended, like dramatic improvement. Yes, I was way off on rookie of the year.
Just a little
Um,
early. You were just a little early on that.
little bit early, but credit to the Steelers. Patriots was like that. Was this a miss for that team? Do you think it's just
Yes.
okay?
Yes, yes. They were like in the mix. They were in that conversation and they were like, they had a winning record for a while. And it just, I don't know. I think that whole Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi situation, and like we said, pencil pusher, he's terrible. He's awful at offense. Their team, like that loss they had to the Raiders is pretty much why they lost. They didn't make the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
That loss where they tried that trick play and then
yeah,
Mac Jones got
yeah,
stiff arm. Like they
yeah,
win that game, they go to the playoffs. So
yeah,
that's a miss. That's a miss for sure.
yeah. That ends up yeah.
You think
Chandler
about that
Jones
game.
shoving Mac Jones to the ground ultimately
Yep.
ended up being the undoing for their season. But I guess if I'm gonna be an apologist for them, I would be saying, well, technically we had the toughest division in the AFC this year. So, but yeah, I guess they have high standards of excellence there in New England. Hate to see it. Sorry. New York Jets. I would quarterback away.
I don't think Mike White's that guy. I don't think Mike
Oh
White's
yeah,
him,
of
man.
course. So, like Joe Flacco, Mike White,
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Like I don't think either of them are going to be on this team next year. Like they have to completely start from scratch, quarterback wise. So I don't know who they're getting though.
They're going to be in the carousel, man. Jimmy G.
I guess.
Like that doesn't fit.
I
That doesn't give
guess.
anyone confidence there. Maybe they get Tannehill. I don't know.
And then Titans, we talked about them a little bit. I think it was just injuries they just couldn't overcome this year. And bad QB play. So, in terms of the NFC, how the Detroit Lions. let's talk about them versus the Packers, another team that we'll get into a little bit. Hey, credit to Dan Campbell. We hyped him up all season. We thought he was going to get fired there at the middle of the season. Like it looked like he was going to get fired mid-season, is what we were talking about. Turn that team around. They're still playing, like, even though they knew they couldn't get into the playoffs, they still fought their asses off in that game, beat the Packers. Rodgers talked shit about them earlier in the season, kind of came back to bite them. So yeah, I think Dan Campbell's back next year. I think the Lions have some positive things, much like the Steelers. Like, hey, we missed the playoffs, but we had a winning season. Lots of positives. Beat our division rival. Thoughts on the Lions?
They're ahead of schedule, man. They are ahead of schedule. And I tried to fire you, Dan Campbell, after you lost to the Patriots
And he
29 to
tried to kick
0.
Jared Goff to the curb.
You know what? I'm sorry, Dan Campbell, but I still have the same feeling about Jared Goff. I'm not going to be fooled by this. I think the real credit needs to go to their GM. I think his name is Brad Holmes or whatever. That team is like, that offensive line is good. The defensive line is good. They like Amon-Ra St. Brown is legit. They have that Jameson Williams. They have a good tight ends. Like they have a good team, man. They have winning. They have like a tough culture now. Like that's what he's like instilled in them. And they have what, the number 6 pick and their own pick, which is like 18th. So it's like 2 top 20 draft picks coming up because they have the Rams pick from Matt Stafford trade. So, I mean, they're going to just keep loading up that team with like good players. They're going to make the playoffs next year. That is a good team. They're just ahead of schedule. And I'm still shaky on Jared Goff. But he fits what they like. He fits what they like. I'll give you that.
You know me, I love the Lions. But just I hope they go to the playoffs. I can't officially pick them to go to the playoffs because that will jinx them. So
it's happening. I'll put that jinx on them right now.
We'll let Tony make that pick because I can't.
That's right. They're going to the playoffs next year. You hear that? Playoffs, Lions. Probably win that division next year. Look at him. He's like, oh, dang, okay.
Well, staying in that division, Packers. You hate to see it. They end up, after all they went through this season, still missing the playoffs to the Detroit Lions, of all people. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay next season?
Yes, of course. I don't know shit. Miss me with the details. Who cares? Let me tell you. What is the maximum way I can get attention? That is what I'm going to do. That is Aaron Rodgers' playbook now. That is what he wants. Maximum way to get attention. What's going to give him most attention? Is he not going to retire? And then why doesn't Ed Werder just show up at his lawn like he did for Brett Favre? Because like this is pretty much exactly what's going to happen. Then there's going to be all this talk. Maybe he's going to go to Las Vegas and reunite with Devontae Adams. No, Packers aren't going to trade him. He's going to be their quarterback next year. And what he did was screw that team over by keeping them in playoff contention. Because if they weren't in playoff contention, they would have played Jordan Love. And they would have gotten to see if Jordan Love was good or not. And then what we could do with him or if they could trade him. But because they never got to see him play other than like a game, maybe a game and a half, Jordan Love has played like the same amount as Trey Lance. Like, I'm like, I don't know if that guy's good. Like, he's barely played. Like, Brock Purdy has played more than both of these guys combined. Like, what's happening here? Like, so yes, like Aaron Rodgers is coming back. This will he or won't he thing is just going to be max attention. Like, give me a break. This guy, look at this drama queen. Everything blowing up in his face. Like you said, you hate to see it. God forbid that football god's not happy with the way that he behaved.
We talked about it on a radio show I was listening this morning of just, do we give Aaron Rodgers too much attention? I mean, essentially, he is just Boomer Esiason from the 90s. Like we really do just give him a lot of credit and attention.
Oh, I'm dead. That's good. That is good. Credit to whoever said that. Boomer Esiason. I love that. That is,
I mean,
that is good right there.
it's true though. Like we give this guy so much attention, and really, it's just like, yeah, he's not a top tier quarterback.
Like when I saw that FanDuel or one of the sports books posted that, they're like prime Mahomes versus prime Aaron Rodgers, and like people were like, oh, like Mahomes, and the anger from Packers fans was like palpable on this, and they're like defending this guy till they die.
Aaron Rodgers starting to look like a luckier Derek Carr. I'll
This
say
guy
it.
just
Like,
you're a couple throws away from being Trent Dilfer, Aaron. You're a couple throws away. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Oh, it's good
I mean,
takes.
he has to see what's happening with Russ and Denver, and like you can actually diminish your Hall of Fame chances.
Yeah, because the Lions are winning that division next year. Good luck, Aaron. I don't know what you guys are gonna do, man. Good luck.
I guess so. Last here for playoff misses. I guess technically the Commanders missed it. Barely. Thoughts on the Commanders?
Yeah, they screwed themselves. They screwed themselves. The guy's name was Carson Wentz, and you should never have acquired him. If you never make that move, that team makes the playoffs. Whether it's Heineke playing more games or whether they go to the rookie Sam Howell playing more games, they were a playoff team. Like that was a pretty good team. But as soon as they put in Wentz, he lost them games. He lost that game against the Browns, throwing 3 picks when they switched from Heineke in the middle of that Niners game. Like Carson Wentz is why they didn't make the playoffs. He basically did the same thing to the Colts. Like Carson Wentz is the reason they didn't make the playoffs. Like he is the weak link. That guy's a backup quarterback in this league. He's gonna be some backup somewhere, but like,
Yeah, well, considering what Nick Foles and Carson Wentz have done post Super Bowl, that's such an anomaly. I don't know how they did
that Philly fluke, man. That
it.
Philly fluke. That's what it's looking like more and more. You just like what?
I'm not gonna say it's a fluke. Like there wasn't like it's not necessarily like a NBA bubble or a shortened season like baseball did, but man, they
What do you? It has to be, man. Look at go through it. Like they fired Doug Peterson. Frank Reich has been fired in Indianapolis. What you talked about with Nick Foles, and what we've seen with Carson Wentz, it's just like, wait, what? What's going on? How does this? None of this adds up. How did this all work while you guys were there? I don't even understand.
someone traded their soul to the devil.
That was a little Nicky deal. Some guy in
Yeah.
Philly got a little Nicky deal going on, man.
All right. Let's jump into. We now have our draft order for the 2023 draft. The Chicago Bears get the number 1 pick at 3 and 14. I guess the biggest question here is, do they trade down?
They would have to, right? You think
I
they would have to. They're gonna keep Justin Fields another year. I would hope. I would hope he looked like he was a
oh
promising
yeah, like
quarterback.
I mean, but they could still keep the pick and then say like, oh yeah, we're gonna pick like a offensive lineman, like which would be insanity, but I wouldn't put it past the Bears, Like I've seen weirder things happen in the NFL draft, so I would say all signs point to them trading down since they don't need a QB. Like get a haul from a team that is QB needy. Uh, I mean, shit. What if the like Raiders traded up or something?
The Colts are there too. I would expect them to be like one of the first contenders to trade up and get that. I think they're like at pick 4 or 5.
They are at
So
pick 4.
4.
So,
So yeah, I would see them. I mean, the Texans, they could offer the trade up too. I don't know, but they're at
but
2.
I don't think
So
you're gonna get as much out of the Texans as you would from other teams.
yeah,
So Raiders
fair.
are at 7.
I could see it. We'll see what
Um,
the
you
what is it? The combine always makes those quarterbacks go up in the draft.
got Falcons at 8 that need a QB. I mean
Hmm.
Seahawks at 5.
Geno took him to the playoffs. They're gonna keep him.
But if like that's a still a pick that they didn't necessarily have.
I don't.
And
I th-
so like to spend if you could potentially spend that on like a QB, I don't know. It's crazy, but you're
it's
most
only
likely right. So yeah, at number 2, you have the Texans. I think they're probably just gonna stand pat. Number 3 is the Cardinals. I see them most likely going offensive line. Um, that that secondary could use some revitalization as well. Colts, like you said, at 4, they definitely need a QB and they need to stop playing the free agency game because they've just been burned by that too many times.
what's
Um,
his name? What's the quarterback from Alabama's name? Bryce Love?
I believe so.
I forget his last name. I'm sorry, Bryce. I'm sorry. It's between you and the Ohio State dude,
Bryce
CJ
Young.
Stroud. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, the dude from Ohio State. What it's those two dudes. Like that's the conversation for number 1 pick. I'm telling you right now, this is what's gonna happen though. That Will Levis guy, Zach Wilson 2.0. Awesome workout. Like gonna be able to like have these throws where you're just like, holy crap, look at these throws when they're wearing shirts and shorts. 60 yards flat footed. You're going to see this. And that guy is going to rise up the draft board. He sucks. I'll tell you right now, that guy sucks. Some team's going to be suckered into him. That's Zach Wilson 2.0. But those other quarterbacks, Stroud and Young, like those dudes are legit franchise quarterbacks. I'll be interested to see where they land. That's my QB analysis for college from what I've seen.
So another team playing kind of here with house money, the Lions at pick 6 with the pick they got from the Rams. Most likely they're gonna go defense, some form or fashion, I would believe. Like that seems to
Yeah,
be their weakest unit at this moment.
best player available.
Raiders at
Maybe they
7.
trade down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on who's there. Falcons at 8, Panthers at 9, and then rounding out the top 10 is the Eagles that got their pick from the Saints.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man. So that's 2 NFC teams having 2 top 10 picks. God bless it.
Yep,
Why? Why?
yep.
Why? Why? Why?
Hey, that's what happens when people say fuck them picks. Eventually those
True.
picks gonna come back to bite you.
Gotta pay that credit card bill. Gotta pay that credit card bill sometime.
All right, Tony. Kind of just wrapped up this 2022-23 season. It's been fun, but now we head into the playoffs. It's going to be a lot more fun. We'll have Nick back here with us. And yeah, we're just going to have some special shows for the playoffs, starting with Wild Card Weekend. But before we go, we have a national championship. This episode probably not going to get out in time for this national championship. So this is going to be a I guess a pick that y'all can laugh at us for because it's going to probably come out on Tuesday. So Tony, predictions for tonight. We have TCU versus Georgia. Last I saw, it was 13.5 in favor of the Bulldogs. Talk to me about the national championship.
This game is going to be a blowout. It's going to be a blowout. I just know it. Georgia is going to they're going to crush them. They're like, I've not had the best record with TCU all season. We've gotten some of their wins right, but they needed like 2 pick sixes. They stopped the Michigan on the goal line, and they still barely won that game. They got like everything went right for TCU, and they barely beat Michigan. I just don't see them being able to like hang around with Georgia. And Georgia had their scare versus Ohio State, so I think Georgia easily covers. I think it's like a 14 point game, like most of the time.
All right, all right. Um, I agree with you. I think Georgia wins. TCU covers. I'm giving a little like that TCU offense is amazing. So I think that maybe they can just go toe to toe with them in a battle. And hey, Stetson Bennett, holding it up for all us middle-aged men out there. Hell yeah, man. Keep it up. I'm pretty sure you're older than I am.
Dude, he makes Van Wilder look like a freshman or something. Like, what is happening with this guy? Stetson Bennett's like, he's older than Lamar Jackson. He'd be like one of the oldest QBs in the AFC playoffs, dude. What's going on here?
The only thing I can just say is like COVID, man. COVID did some weird things. We're still recovering from, yeah, like dude must have like served his mission, Mormon mission for like 4 years and then come back. But all right, so we both have Georgia. So yeah, if TCU wins, we both are fucking idiots. Probably won't happen though. So
Yeah.
all right, Tony, let's get out of here. Like I said, we'll be back this weekend for wild card weekend. We'll most likely have a post-game reaction to that we'll most likely do again next Tuesday, because don't forget, we have Monday Night Football next week. So, yeah, gonna be a weird one. And so, yeah, playoffs, baby. We'll be here for the next month. Then we'll shut it down and probably start up some basketball talk. So join us for this last few weeks. Thanks for being here with us throughout the season.
Thanks for Budz. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.